Alright, let's do it. Hello everyone, how are you doing today? I am back today with something a little different than usual. As you all know, Power Rangers Beast Morphers premiered its first 2 episodes over these last 2 weeks. And while this channel is normally Sonic based, I really wanted to talk about this. Since this is the first time I've talked about Power Rangers on this channel, let me dive into my history with this franchise. I've loved Power Rangers ever since I was a really little kid. I've followed this franchise for what seems like forever. I've had my times away from the franchise, either because I thought it was getting too old, or because it flat out betrayed me. But no matter what happens, I've loved this franchise for as long as I can remember, and I probably always will. And if I ever get really frustrated with how things are currently, I just remember that Dino Thunder exists. Speaking of frustrating, we just exited what I and many others feel like is one of the darkest times in Ranger history. The Neo-Saban era. Now, I'm in the minority who liked Samurai, and Dino Charge was pretty good, but Megaforce is just... In my opinion, it's the worst season of Power Rangers ever, by far, no contest, but it's also the biggest insult to the Power Rangers franchise, just by claiming that it respects the legacy while taking just the biggest dump on it. And I've watched about 2 episodes of Ninja Steel. I watched the premiere, where it looked like it was just more Megaforce, so I was like, peace. And I watched Dimensions in Danger, where I was like, oh, I know those people! Oh, they're gone now? Okay. That might not be fair, but based on what I've heard, my early gut feelings weren't wrong. But now, those dark days may be behind us. Hasbro bought the rights, and are currently the ones bringing us Power Rangers Beast Morphers. Admittedly, since I believe Beast Morphers started production with Saban, and also it's a transitional period anyway, I was a bit worried that it might still have some of that Neo-Saban goo on it. But were my fears justified? Let's find out. Let's get started with Episode 1, Beasts Unleashed. So immediately this episode hits the ground running with a concept that is super interesting to me. The Power Rangers have been around for over 2 decades in this world, and they clearly have this advanced technology. So the normal people are like, hey, you know, they have this pool of limitless energy called the Morphing Grid, why don't we just use that so we don't have to worry about like pollution or finite resources anymore? Which is something that has always fascinated me, because when you look at any fictional universe, you have things that clearly breach reality, but they keep trying to act like it's, oh, no, it's just normal, except for this one thing. But when you follow that one thing to its logical conclusion, it would drastically change the world. Like, look at Marvel, for example. Marvel has Reed Richards and Tony Stark and Bruce Banner, yet somehow cancer is still a thing. You have these guys who can create portals to alternate dimensions and fly to different galaxies, but they can't cure cancer. And we're still using fossil fuels. Yeah, so I like that they're addressing that here, and they're providing a natural solution to it. So, first thing after that we see is that we get to our Red Ranger for the season, Devin, and he's in some karate class. This guy who is the teacher, Blaze, is getting on him because he's not really paying attention during the class. And Devin talks about how, oh, well, you just suck, so I'm not paying attention. He's not that much of a dick about it, but he kind of is. So then the two fight, and it sets up a nice rivalry between between the two of them. Until the mayor shows up, who turns out to be Devin's father. This dude's voice. I'm just gonna have you take a listen to it.
You are leaving. Now.
I don't know what they were going for. Like, it's clear that he has the New Zealand accent, because for anyone who doesn't know, Power Rangers is shot in New Zealand for budgetary reasons. So it's clear that he's trying to hide his New Zealand accent, but he's hiding it behind, like, this smoker's voice? I don't know if that's how the actor actually talks or not. It's weird. I do really like what they set up here with, Devin's relationship with his father. You know, we've seen the whole father's disappointed in his son thing from previous seasons of Power Rangers. However, one thing I really like about it here is that it's a lot more realistic. Like in RPM, you had the whole Scott and Commander Truman thing, because, you know, Commander Truman kind of shut himself off because he didn't want to lose anyone else. But here, it's very realistic, where it's like, you know, the son is just tired of the dad constantly getting on his back, and the dad wants what's best for his son, wants his son to succeed, but is going about it the wrong way, so they just kind of block each other off, which I thought was super interesting. But so, the mayor is heading to Grid Battle Force for this experiment. Real quick thing for those who might not understand this joke, and as you all know, when you explain jokes, they become funnier. Power Rangers is based off of a Japanese series called Super Sentai, and the Sentai this series is based off of is called Go Busters. So in this season, to account for the fact that a bunch of their equipment has GB on it, they changed the Go Busters to Grid Battle Force, which is their headquarters. I thought that was clever. The name Grid Battle Force is a bit much, but it makes sense. So Devin sneaks in because he hears that they have like a super intense battle simulator, and he likes karate, so he wanted to try it. And this place just has the worst security ever, so he was able to do it. So then we meet our quote-unquote comedy relief for the season. They didn't really win me over this time. They might win me over later. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But then we meet our Yellow Ranger, Zoe, who again, I really liked how relatable they made her backstory, how she really wants to do stuff, she really wants just to have a chance to do the right thing, but she flunked out, and now she's doing this laundry stuff, and she's just, she just wants to do more. And I really like this. My thing is, when you're making a show like this, or you're making a sort of media like this, like a comic book, a novel, whatever, the heroes should be people that the viewers aspire to be. Any child, any adult watching the show should want to be them. And if you give them problems that are relatable, that feel more down to earth, then it makes us feel one step closer to being them. That's why Spider-Man is my favorite hero, because he is probably the most relatable superhero of all time. Sorry, minor tangent. So, then the mayor gets to, the MorphX lab, where we meet the head scientist, Nate Silva. Gee, I wonder what's gonna happen to him. The mayor gets to the lab where we find out they're going... So, basically what they're doing is they're going into the morphing grid, extracting the energy and turning it into a liquid. If I were to have any theories about this, I would say most likely it's because they figured that drawing energy directly from the morphing grid was too dangerous, so they figured adding an extra step in there would allow them to still be able to draw the power out, but also be able to have it in a more maintainable fashion. But so the mayor is like, what are you doing? Like, because Ranger villains in the past have tried to use not necessarily take control of the morphing grid, Lord Drakon aside, but they've tried to steal what the Rangers used to tap into the morphing grid. With Mesgog, it was the Dino Gems, and with Sledge, it was the Energems. And he actually mentions Sledge. He says from Rita to Sledge to Galvanax, I think. As I said, I didn't watch Ninja Steel, but I believe he says Galvanax. Which, speaking of Sledge, that was an alternate dimension, but I do remember seeing stuff that Sledge was fighting the Ninja Steel Rangers. So did he come to this dimension? Is that how they know about him? I don't know. But I really did appreciate that nod to continuity. This is already a better Legacy season than Megaforce, just because they're actually mentioning the Legacy, but not doing it in the super stupid and overt way Megaforce did. But he's like, yeah, no, you can't use the morphing grid, because then people are going to come and mess with us. And they're like, don't worry, because we're creating Power Rangers. And the mayor's just like, oh, okay. He immediately forgets every grievance he has with this. He's just like, oh, you're creating Power Rangers, cool. But one thing, he's like, oh, I'd like to meet them. And the head of Grid Battle Force, I forget her name, is like, oh, we can't tell you their identities, their secret identities. Which, okay. So I assumed this was being paid for by the city, because the mayor is highly involved in this, and they're replacing the city's power grid. Which means taxpayer dollars are going towards this. And yet, the mayor of the city can't know who these people are? I know it's a kid's show. I know talking about where taxpayer dollars are going is probably not the best way to be talking about it. But that kind of baffled me. I don't know, because like in other seasons where they've been highly connected to the city, where they've been public servants essentially, SPD, RPM, etc., their identities were known. So it just kind of, it was weird to me here. I don't know. Like, I guess the city not knowing it is one thing, but the mayor not being able to know it, that's weird. But again, nitpicking, whatever. So we find out that that these Ranger powers, where the Beast Morpher label comes from, is that these Ranger powers are infused with animal DNA. The red one infused with the DNA of a cheetah, the blue one infused with the DNA of a gorilla, and the yellow one infused with the DNA of a jackrabbit. One of these things is not like the other. Like, yeah, we have two super dangerous animals that could definitely kill you, and a jackrabbit. Again, I don't know what the explanation was in the Sentai for how they got their Ranger powers, but that was just weird to me. I don't know. But again, nitpicking. So Evox shows up when Devon's there, and Devon immediately assumes that the snake monster in their morph jello is a computer virus. Like, he's right, but that's not what my first assumption would be. The three candidates, one of them is Blaze, the guy from the beginning of the episode. The other one are interesting, though. We have Ravi, obviously, who was mentioned previously. You know, he was going to be the Blue Ranger from the start. That's what they announced. And his, like, girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, whoever, named Roxy, who is going to be the Yellow Ranger. And they have an interesting thing where he's like, no, we can't be together because Rangers aren't allowed to date each other. Which, I'm going to assume that's a Grid Battle Force rule, because it's not a Ranger rule. It's been done a lot before by other Rangers, but, yeah, again, I say this, so that's probably like a workplace rule for Grid Battle Force. When they step in to get infused with their Ranger powers, Evox, which, by the way, I don't like that name. It's just super on the nose. Like, you get it? He's evil. But, Evox infiltrates it and, like, corrupts the Morph X. So they get split into range. Like, they have, like, a... Well, okay. Blaze, his one looks like a Ranger. Roxy's doesn't really. Probably because, again, Sentai, that was probably a different origin. But, so they get split. So their normal selves just kind of fall unconscious, and their avatar is like, oh, I'm here now. I kind of thought that was a missed opportunity, because what I think would have been cool is, because we already established that Blaze is a dick at the beginning of the episode. I think, and granted, maybe later on in the series we'll explain why this doesn't work. I think it would have been cool if another monster showed up, kind of like pushed them out of the way, and then just through the circumstance, our actual three Rangers fall in and get their powers. So then Blaze kind of harbors a resentment because he was supposed to be the Red Ranger, but now he isn't. And then he could kind of like naturally go over to the dark side. So that way, you know, you have like more pathos, you could have a good redemption arc later on. But yeah, as it stands right now, it's fine. The Evil Ranger is one of the best tropes in Power Rangers, so the fact that we're going to have one presumably all season is pretty cool. Yeah, so they fight, and our three Rangers, Devon, Ravi, and Zoe, get their Ranger powers. And they fight off the avatars, and they teleport them away. And the episode ends where they're like, oh, we're Rangers now, that's cool. And Ravi is really sad, because his girlfriend is in a coma. Overall, good first episode. The idea that these, that we have two Rangers who weren't supposed to be there, I feel like could create a lot of interesting drama. Like, you kind of have Ravi get up on his high horse, because he was the one who was actually chosen for this. Although they imply that the commander is his mom, so there's probably been a nepotism in getting him into the Ranger program as well. But we're not going to talk about that. Yeah, that could create a good internal conflict with the group. Yeah, overall, I really like this first episode. And let's get into episode 2. Episode 2 is titled Evox Revenge. You want to know why it's called that? Me too. Because he shows up once in this episode, and I believe revenge implies that something happened to you previously, but that's not brought up. It starts up in his dimension, where we see Blaze and Roxy's avatars talking to this robot henchman dude, whose name I've already forgotten. I gotta say, this villain is not really... like, I guess he hasn't had much time to impress me, but, like, Meziga and Grum and all of them in much less time did much more. I'm just saying. Yeah, so they're in like this wasteland of a dimension, so like, is this a dimension Evox has already conquered? Is this... what is this? What is this place? I don't know, but I hope we get more into that later. But yeah, we find out that they need Morphex to get Evox out of this dimension. But out of it how? If he's a computer virus, he's just data, he has no physical form. So getting him out of the dimension should be fairly easy. Okay, so we cut back to the Rangers, and Devin has just tried the battle simulator, and he's really excited about that. So they're called to the lab for an announcement, and Ravi immediately assumes that's because his mother, the commander, wants to make him the leader of the team. And Zoe is like, oh, well, I want to be a leader. And I find that interesting, because I think most of us know where this is going, if we've seen Power Rangers before. But Devin, I was expecting him to go, well, you know, in the past, the Red Ranger has been the leader, so I hope she'll probably make me the leader. No, he doesn't. He completely just steps out of their dispute over leadership. Which I think is one of the reasons why what happens at the end of the episode happens. So the Rangers meet their beast bots. Oh god. Can you tell this thing was made in Japan? Also, why does it sound like Gilbert Gottfried's rejected cousin?
Ah, Zoe, I'm Jax. I'm here to make sure you're fast and efficient.
Yeah, these things are, they're interesting, alright. They're certainly interesting. And then the commander's like, oh, we need to decide your leader. And that's when Zoe and Ravi get all angry and such at each other. And then they rush out into battle against Blaze and henchman whose name I forgot. And I do like that enough of Blaze's personality stayed in his avatar for him and Devin to have like a bit of a rivalry. So the Rangers morph. And it's interesting, the morph sequence, because anyone who's watched Power Rangers before, the morph sequence is usually like they go to a different place. Well, not literally, obviously, but like in the past, the morph sequence is you basically just like eye candy for the viewer. It's not actually happening. The morphs in real life, in like the actual setting, are instantaneous. Like the Dino Thunder Rangers don't literally backflip onto a pool of molten lava. It's all just for show. But in this, they don't like transfer over to like another thing. They just do it, and then there's like a tornado of energy, which looks very cool. And then they're morphed. Yeah, I think that's interesting, especially since most seasons they do away with the morph sequence later on, just as to not waste the audience's time. So, yeah, that's cool. I do wonder if we'll get a more traditional one later on, though. But so then, we get into the worst thing about this episode, by far, which is they establish that the Rangers have weaknesses. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, well, that's not too bad. You know, you gotta give your heroes some challenge, right? Oh, no. No. So, Devin sees a dog, right? And he freezes up. And I'm like, oh no, please don't do what I think you're doing. And then Robbie's fighting this robot thing. And he starts to get really mad all of a sudden. I was hoping, oh, this is cool, they're establishing a character trait that he has like a short temper. And then he starts to shoot at Zoe. So clearly that wasn't the case. And then Zoe just gets really tired, which I thought that was because the Ranger powers have like a limited amount of energy that they can expend. They did a very similar thing in RPM. But then later on, we see that it's actually because when Evox got into the system, he corrupted the Ranger powers. So I kid you not, Nate goes like, oh, cheetahs are cats, and cats are scared of dogs, so that's why Devin freezes up when he sees dogs. And Zoe, you're tired because you didn't eat carrots, so here, eat this carrot. I'm not kidding. I wish I was kidding. Yeah, that was really stupid. I really hope they do away with it later. I really hope that was like a this episode thing, and the next episode they're like, okay, we fixed the glitch. So, like, I would have no problem if they were like actual weaknesses, like, oh, you can only expend so much energy at a time or you'll run dry. like in Kamen Rider O's. I've been watching that recently. He has a thing where, like, he has stronger forms he can use, but those stronger forms tire him out quicker. So, like, if they had weaknesses like that, that'd be fine. These ones are stupid, so I hope they're done away with. I mean, I assume you have this super smart scientist child prodigy who would be able to do that. He created the powers, after all. But, so yeah, we have our Zord fight. And, Ravi doesn't really do much in this Zord fight. He kind of, like, helps Zoe out once, but Zoe, like, kicks the monster, and then Devin kills it, so, yeah. And, and the Zords talk to them, because their beast bots are plugged into them, so, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. So then, surprisingly, a grand total of no one, Devin ends up as the leader at the end, and, which I like, because they did, like, set it up during the episode why that was a good idea. And the episode ends. This one was it was good. I'm not really surprised or peeved at the fact that this is the second video in a row where I've used the word peeved. What the hell? At the fact that, like, this was kind of, I don't know, it was just kind of like normal Power Rangers. However, unlike things like Megaforce, where it was just bad, it was very poorly done whenever they would have, like, an uneventful episode. No, it was very poorly done when they had anything. But here I like the characters, I like everything they're doing. So, yeah, the second episode was also pretty good. Pretty good. I liked it. So overall, Beast Morphers had a good start. The Hasbro era of Power Rangers, it's doing alright. With a few minor missteps. Again, I really hope those weaknesses get undone. Yeah, overall, I'm probably not going to come back and do a review of these every week, just because, I don't know, with Power Rangers, while it's likely you could get an episode where there's a lot to talk about, there's also likely that you get an episode with nothing to talk about. The episode could just be, oh, they fight a monster, and obviously it could have smaller character progression during that, but, yeah, so, I mean, if there's something to talk about, I might make a video. I'll probably make a video at the finale, and if they do any crossovers, which, speaking of crossovers, so we have 3 Rangers of primary colors with animal-themed suits and powers. Jungle Fury crossover, maybe? I mean, come on, the guy who played Casey came back from Megaforce. He'd probably do it. I don't know what the other two are doing, but, yeah. Or, you know, this season's dealing with a virus. RPM dealt with a virus. Maybe have them go to that dimension, and they can see, like, how bad things could get if they don't win. You know, give us the better version of Clash of the Red Rangers, where the better part of the crossover happened off-screen. But, yeah, or don't. I don't know. I know that's wishful thinking. It's probably not going to happen. If they were crossing over with anyone, I guess it would probably be Ninja Steel. But, as I said, I didn't watch Ninja Steel, so I don't know. But, yeah. Overall, these episodes were good. I'll come back if I feel like talking about it again anytime soon. But so yeah, let me know what you thought about these episodes in the comments below. If you like what you see, be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to help grow the channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.